Hello everyone. So today we're going to talk about Lambda functions in Python, and this is the last video of the basics of Python series. So the overview of this video will be, first we'll be having introduction, then we'll see some examples. We'll also see the use of Lambda function and the code. So this will be a short video as there's not much to know about Lambda functions. So introduction. A Lambda function is a small anonymous function and it can take any number of arguments but can only have one expression. So this is how the syntax for a Lambda function looks like. You write the word lambda, then you will have arguments, and then you will have the expression. So for better understanding, let's see some examples. So let's say, okay, so we can have multiple variables in a Lambda function. So first, let's see an example of one variable. So if you want to add 10 to argument a, that is 10 to the variable a, and you want to return the result, then this is how your Lambda function will look like. So for example, x equals to lambda, we have our arguments, which is only one variable in this case, that is a, and then giving a colon, you will write the expression. So a plus 10, since we just want to add 10 and return it. Now if you do print x of 5, that means you're passing 5 over here, which will replace a, and 5 plus 10 is 15, so it will print 15. So that is how the Lambda function works. Now let's see an example in two variables. So if you are given two arguments and you want to just multiply them, let's say a and b, so you want to multiply and return the result. So this is how your Lambda function will look like. Again, x equals to, so instead of x you can write any variable over here. So x equals to lambda, then we have our arguments. In this case we have two arguments, that is a and b. So a comma b will be written, then after giving a colon we'll write our expression, which is again simple, a multiplied by b. So now when you want to use this, you can simply write print x of 5 comma 6. So 5 will occupy a and b will have the value 6. So it will return and it will print 30 over here. Now similarly, let's see an example of three variables. So if you just want to add the three arguments and just provide the answer, so this is how it will be written. Again, lambda a comma b comma c, since we have three arguments, and the expression a plus b plus c. So it's as simple as that. And then you can use the print statement and pass three arguments. So that is how the Lambda function looks like basically. And now its use. So why Lambda function? So it is usually used as an anonymous function inside another function. So you can use Lambda function for multiple, the same Lambda function for multiple things. For example, if you want to double a number, or you want to triple a number, or maybe even make it 4 times, you can use one same Lambda function defined inside another function. So let's see how it works. First, you'll be defining a function, which you have already seen in the previous video, how we define functions. You'll pass a parameter, let's say n, and then you will be returning the lambda function. So return lambda, we only take one argument over here, and then we are doing a into n. So over here, if you see, you will find that there are two variables on this side, but in the lambda we are only passing one argument. That is because this function can be used for many things. Let's say, like I mentioned, for doubling, tripling, maybe even making it 4 times. So if you pass the value of n as 2, it means you have a function that will double. If you pass the value of n as 3, it means your function will now triple it. Similarly, 4 will make it 4 times, 5 will make it 5 times. Now when I've already defined my function. Now let's see how to use it. So let's say I'm taking a new variable, let's say doubler or my doubler, and I'm assigning it the value of my function, the defined function my func, and I'll pass one argument, that is the value of n, which in this case is 2 because we want to double it. Now this is how you are defining the variable. Now if you want to print the double of any value, you will just do print. You will use this variable my doubler, and then you will pass a value which you want to double. So in this case, if you want to double 11, you'll pass 11. So what happens is this 2 is the value of n, and this will always remain same, because if you're calling my doubler from here, again, what is my doubler? It is my func of 2. So that means this 2 is constant. Now this 2 will be assigned as n, and the value you are passing over here, which is 11, that will be your argument of the lambda function. So 11 will be take place of a, and n is 2. So 11 into 2, 22. Now this same function you can use it to triple. So you can define it like my tripler equals to my func and 3. So this 3 will be taking the place of n in the lambda function. Now this lambda function will now look like lambda a colon a into 3, because 3 has been passed over here and n's value is now 3. So this is how our lambda function will look like for this. And then if you want to triple a number, you will just print my tripler and you'll pass another argument which will be used in the lambda function. So 11 will be a, 11 into 3 will be 33. So that is how it will work, and that is how you can reuse the same lambda function for multiple functionalities. So that is one major benefit of the lambda function, and it can be used as an anonymous function inside another function. Now, to gain some better understanding about this, let us see the sample code. So let us see the sample code, and we'll be using the same Google Colab file. So let me define a lambda function first. So let's say x equals to lambda, and we are just having one argument, that is a, and we want to multiply a by 2. So basically to provide the double of the value you'll be passing. Now to use this, I can just simply print x of 7. So this will give you 14, x of 9 will give you 18. You can also redefine this, rename it maybe something like strike rate. So if you want to find the strike rate, and this will be requiring two variables, that is, let's say, the balls and the runs. So for this you will have to do runs divided by balls and into 100. So this will give you the strike rate. So if I want to find the strike rate of someone who played, let's say, 9 balls and made 28 runs, so the strike rate, so okay, this, we forgot to run the new function, I think. Yes, and now after we have made a change and run the function again, so you can see that the strike rate will be 311.11. So this is an example of two variables for a lambda function. Now we can also see an example for three variables. So let's say you simply want to multiply the three variables. So let's take multiply equals to lambda a comma b comma c and a into b into c. So if I define this, now I'll use it. So I can simply do print 10 comma 5 comma 2. So 10 into 5 into 2 should give you 100. Sorry, after we use multiply, yes, so we have 100, and a will be 10, b will be 5, and c will be 2. So 10 into 5 into 2 is 100, and that's how you can use it with three variables. You can also use 4, 5, or how many ever you want, and you can use it to do various calculations or complex expressions to solve them. Now let us see the actual use of the lambda function like we saw in the PPT. where we define it inside a function. So let's see def, and let's name it my function, and I'll be passing in. I want to return a lambda function. So now again, in this lambda function, we saw in the PPT that we are taking only one argument. So let us first try with that, and then we can make it a bit more complex. So here it is, and I have defined the function. Now I can use it. So let's say doubler equals to my function 2, tripler equals to my function 3. Now we have defined this as well. Now it's time to use it. So to use it, if I want to double a number, I can just print doubler and let's say 7. So this should give me 14, because this doubler will call this variable, and this variable is nothing but it calls the function my function and passes 2 as the value n. So 2 is being passed as n, and in the lambda function the n is now 2. So what it means is this will return, okay, I'll just write it over here. So doubler will be lambda of a and a into 2, because we are returning the lambda function over here, and the lambda function we are returning after we replace the value of n with the value that is passed as the parameter. So in this case we are passing 2, that's why the n value is now 2, and the lambda function that will be returned will look like this. So your basically doubler function will be this, and that is why when you pass anything to the doubler function, any one variable, it will multiply it by 2 and pass and return, sorry. Now similarly tripler will look like this, lambda, and it will take a and then a into 3. So this 3 was the value n, but we have passed that as 3, that's why it has replaced as 3, and the tripler will act like this. Now when you call the tripler, it will just triple it for you and give. So print tripler and let's say 10. So this will give you 30 as the answer. 11 will give you 33. So you can see that we have only defined one function, and we are using that same function to double the value or triple the value based on our requirement. So multiple uses cases or multiple uses of the same function, and that is how the lambda function helps you. Now let's try to add a bit more parameters and complicate things. So for a different example, which can be a bit more complex than this, but more yet understandable. So let us see how we can find the total cost along with the tax. Now the tax can be different for different items. So for many items it is like 5%, many a times it is 18%, and so on. So let us say that you want to calculate your total cost for any product. So we'll define a function, let's say cost, and we'll take the parameter as tax, because that can be different for different products. Now we will return a lambda function, let's say lambda, and now we'll be taking two inputs. We'll take the quantity and the rate, and then we'll have to return the total cost including the tax. So let's see, let's take quantity as qty and rate, and the lambda function will be something like quantity into rate, and we will add the tax. Now the tax will be calculated as quantity into rate into tax on 100. So that is how you can use it. Let's run it. Now let's see, for let's say 5, okay, tax 5 equals to cost and 5, and let's say for maybe luxury item, okay, let's just make it LI, the tax can be maybe something like 15%, so cost 15. So let us run this again. So for this I'll just show you how the lambda function will look like. It will look like this, tax 5 equals to, and instead of tax we will have 5 because we are telling that it is 5%. And now when we are calling the tax 5 function, we'll have to pass quantity and rate. Now similarly for this, if you see, Li will look something like this. So let us see how it can be used. Now let's say print tax 5, and let's say the quantity is 100 units, and the rate for each unit is maybe, let's say, 75. So 75 into 100 will give you 7,500, and 5% tax of that after adding will give you 7875. Now similarly, if you want to check for a luxury item, so luxury item, and let's say the quantity is again 100, and let's say the rate is 1500. So your normal cost would be 1,50,000, but after adding tax it will be 1,72,500. So that is another example of how you can use lambda function, and just one function can be used to calculate different uh, tax in this example, and similar function, same function will have different functionalities. So that is all from this video. Thank you for watching.